Hello again, Mr. Greg.
Hey, how's it going?
The, the adventurer.
Exactly. Hey, from Brooklyn.
Hey from Algeria. So, Mr. Greg, you are against my stance, which is that the Israeli conflict, Israel and Palestinian conflict, there is one just way to resolve it, which is to give the land back to the Palestinian because it is their land. Historically, it is their land. So I think you are against this stance.
Well, I don't think it's the only way to resolve the conflict. I really believe there is a serious situation. It's been going on since 1947, at least, and even earlier. First we have to say who is Palestinian, because before 1947, both Jews and Arabs were called Palestinian, right, who lived there. It was the mandate of Palestine. And also it says the Palestinians should govern their whole land. And the big question is, what is the whole land? Does that include Tel Aviv? Does that include essentially what is now Israel before 1967 or not? So it needs to be defined what you mean by the question also.
So, historically, if we go back in history, both, as you said, it's a good point, both Jews and Palestinians were living in the land of what is called now the State of Israel. It was the Palestinian land. So even the Jews who were there, they consider themselves more Palestinian than Israel. So, for example, of course you know the Naturi Karta. I don't know if it's the exact name in.
Yeah, the Naturi Karta is a small group of Orthodox Jews. I don't know how they are in their private life because I never went to their Shabbats or anything. But they seem to be sincere people who believe that, in fact, Israel itself, the whole thing, I think, they have varying degrees of belief that maybe even the whole thing is occupation. Also, I should give you even more ammunition, okay, to say that the Aguna, the original rabbis, okay, the old Orthodox rabbis of the 1940s were against the secular state for different reasons. They were against it because it was secular, it was not religious, and they said that they didn't want the non-religious Zionists, the secular Zionists, to be building a state. Kind of like Hamas doesn't want PLO. So it was. There's a lot of factions and a lot of groups there, of course.
So yeah, but actually, if I understand from what you are saying, do we agree that the Jews who were present there are more Palestinian than Israeli? They are Jews from ethnicity and race, and Jews by religion. But the Naturi Karta sees that the land is more to the Palestinian than the Israeli. So the Jews who were present there, they would like to be a Palestinian state governed by mostly a democratic state, but not governed by Israeli. They even said that in the religion, the Jew people aren't allowed to go back to that country.
So Naturi Karta is a pretty small group. And also within Jews, you have different ideas, especially ultra-Orthodox Jews. Okay, they are waiting for the Mashiach, the Messiah, to come. They all believe that in the end, the Jews will have the land. They all believe it. But the question is whether they have to wait for the Mashiach or whether they're able to go up and to take the land or to live in the land. Okay, all the Jews believe that they should be able to live in the land, all of them. In fact, this is the dream of the Jewish people to go back to Israel because, they lived in Israel. They were brought there by God. Okay? They believe that it is God's will that they live in Israel. So I even say sometimes to people who are anti-Zionists, I say, you know what? I don't agree with you, but even if I give you everything you say about Zionists, everything, you know that they are not going to expand and go take Iran, take India, like Islam. Islam, they will go and they will take as much as they can.
An expansionist religion. Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Jews only want this one piece of the world because they believe that God gave them this piece, and that's it.
Okay, no, I understand. I understand that this is in their religion. They want it either now or when the Messiah come. But they have the subject that I want to raise is, did they took it oppressively or not? Were they allowed to do that? For example, let's say, for example, you live in a country, and we are a religious group, and we see that Brooklyn, for example, we should occupy Brooklyn because it's in our religion. When we go there, are we a colonialist people like this, or do you consider us just because it's in our religion, so we are allowed to do that?
First of all, I think that the vast majority of the Jews did not come and take Israel by force or by colonialism. Just the same way that I, an immigrant, okay, my family is immigrants, came to the United States. I have nothing to do with the Europeans driving Native Americans out of the land into the reservations, right? I have nothing to do with events that happened 300 years ago. Most Jews came after. And by the way, they were running from Christians, murdering them in the Holocaust. And after 1947, many of them were running from Arabs, like in Egypt, okay, who are also almost about to kill them or killing them, attacking them, because of the creation of the state of Israel. So most of the Jews that live there today, half of them are from Christian countries and half of them are from Arab countries, and they're called Mizrahi and Sephardi. Okay, Mizrahi is from the east, like Iraq. Okay,
and Sephardic Jews.
Sephardic Jews, and they are from Algeria also, and Morocco, and Egypt, and Libya, and Tunisia. And those Jews today, to be honest with you, all these countries have maybe like very few Jews. Syria has like maybe 100 Jews. Iraq has like 20 Jews.
No, we agree. We agree on that. Most of the Arab countries were very oppressive to the Jews. They, in my opinion, they shouldn't. It was not ethical to do that, to expel the Jews from their territory, because even in Algeria we do have this. We have practically none. I've never met a Jew in Algeria, and it's probably never going to happen. Okay. We agree on that. But the story that you mentioned about your family coming to America as an immigrant, and now you don't have anything to do with what your older generation have done. Okay, I'm with you on this. There is no problem between you and the Native American. But the problem is, if you, for example, your generation continue to be oppressive to the Native American, it will be also and still called colonialism. So, for example, the Jew, yes, they came to Palestine, but then they became, with larger and larger number, they had a state and army, and they became oppressive. Do we agree that the Israeli government is kind of oppressive with the Palestinians? They take their land. It's an expansionist country. I mean, do you agree with that?
When you say, I mean, it's kind of is like a lot of, it's very blurry. I think that there are all around the world, there are disputes about land. Even in this country where I live, United States, there are Native Americans who live on reservations today. Okay. I don't think it's so nice for many of them. Many of them were expelled like in the Trail of Tears. Okay. This was, I would say, like the Nakba for you, okay, and not for you. Are you Palestinian or not?
No, but culturally, you can say I'm with the Palestinians, so I understand.
But you don't have like a grandfather who is from the Nakba, right?
No.
Okay. Today, many people who are living in Lebanon, Syria, Kuwait, other places, they don't have any citizenship, nothing. Let's say Lebanon. They are born in Lebanon. They grew their whole life up in Lebanon. Their parents born in Lebanon. Their parents grew up in Lebanon. Why don't they have citizenship like they have in Canada, like they have, refugees? my family also came like refugees, status.
Mm-hmm.
Were given citizenship. Why don't they have citizenship in Lebanon, Syria? Because the Arab League, this is a policy, never give them citizenship. If you have even one grandfather from the Nakba, you do not get citizenship in Lebanon. And this is a problem because, like you said, there's more and more and more people, okay, that are being born. I think this is a refugee problem. I think there should be a regional solution that includes Israel, of course, but Israel cannot take 10 million people. Okay?
Of course.
So at this point, the other countries need to share responsibility. I'm going to say one other thing. In 1949, after the war, which I consider to be like a civil war, between Jews and Arabs in Palestine, the UN recommended the partition, Israel and a land for Palestine, What happened was that Jordan, it was called Transjordan, it came and it took the whole thing because its army was very powerful. It actually beat the Israeli army at that time, and it took Jerusalem. This is what Jews want the most, Jerusalem, right? They would be willing to give up, many religious Jews would be willing to give up Haifa, Tel Aviv, everything, just to have...
But not Jerusalem.
Okay. So they lost it. They had no access to Jerusalem, nothing. And Jordan had all Jerusalem. And what did Jordan do? Few things. First, it gave all the Palestinian citizenship. This is a good thing, If anybody watching this or you can look up the Jericho Conference.
This is Jericho Conference, okay.
Yes. It's very important to know in the history, the Palestinian Hamulas, the clans, accepted that they will live under the king of Jordan, the Hashemite king, Abdullah.
Abdullah, yeah.
And he was the king, and then the Transjordan became Jordan. And because it was now on both sides of the Jordan River. So it got recognized by both the United States recognized Israel and Jordan on the same day, February 1st, 1949. Same day. And at the time, they thought it was a logical resolution. The Palestinians live in Jordan. They got the whole Jordan, right? And Jews live on the small piece of land called Israel, which has Tel Aviv, Haifa, etc. This was the case until 1967. That was the case. What happened was that there was many things that happened, but one of the main things that happened is the Arab League, which is in Cairo, was very unhappy with Jordan. They threatened to kick them out of the Arab League for this. And number two, you talk about oppression. The other way also, when Jordan was controlling the area, they made it very more Islamic. They destroyed all the synagogues in the old city of Jerusalem. And there were many Jews who lived there. They sent them away, just like in the Nakba. They just expelled them to go. They desecrated the tombstones in the Mount of Olives. So when the Jordanian government was in charge, and it's a pretty nice government, but they had to also undertake a Islamicization program to make it more Islamic, And as a result, they destroyed most of the Jewish culture that was there. So I would say actually now, under Israel, there's much less. They are much more tolerant. They even won Jerusalem. They gave the keys back to the Al-Aqsa Mosque right away. They said, here, we're not even going to go up there. It's yours.
Okay, I beg your pardon to interrupt you.
Sure.
So the problem, yes, sometimes I think that the Israeli government is more, for example, how you say the word you said, they are more tolerant.
Yeah.
But the problem is they are far more tolerant than the Muslims will accept. So, for example, the Israelis have those last decades, they have, for example, allowed a gay pride, which is, maybe you are for that, but from our perspective, just try to understand our perspective, the Muslim perspective. We don't have actually this kind of thing in our religion and our culture, especially in sacred places like the Jerusalem. So the fact that the Israeli government is tolerant, somehow tolerant, let's just pursue your argument, doesn't mean that it will be a great thing for the Palestinian, because it will never end if it continue like this. So, for example, if they are that tolerant to allow gay pride, to allow, for example, gay marriage on Jerusalem, which is a very sacred place, this will constantly lead to more violence, more Hamas and the people from Arab country wanting to take Jerusalem back. So don't you think that, because my argument is this, I don't think that it's logical, neither rational, neither ethical to say to all 10 million Jews to leave the land. No, they should live there, but the Palestinian, it should be more kind of not secular state, not a religious state also, but something that how to say that is more approximate to the Muslim, because they were first. So what do you say about this?
Okay, wow. So many things. Let's go backwards. Okay. First of all, I disagree they were first, because obviously you should read in the Bible, right? The Jews were there first.
No, excuse me.
Yeah.
The Bible isn't a very strong argument, because we cannot say argument from a religious belief. Let's be factual and rational. Say if there wasn't any religion.
Okay, so let me address the other things, and then we'll talk about this, because it's a big topic. You don't have to use the Bible as a religious text. You can use it as a historical text. Okay, and not just the Bible, but all the records show that obviously Jews lived in the land before the Romans expelled them. There was a period where the Babylonians took the land. Okay, and then the Jews were in exile. This was like 2,500 years ago, and they were set up at yeshivas and schools in Babylon. Okay, but there's a lot of documentation, obviously, that the Jews come from Israel, and there's genetic studies. But let me go back to what you were saying. I thought you made a mistake in the beginning, because I thought you just said a wrong thing. You said Israel is too tolerant, that the Muslims will not like it. So I thought, wow, how can you be too tolerant, right? And then you explained that you're saying that they tolerate the gay pride parade, for example.
As an example, yeah.
Two things on that point. First of all, the Jerusalem is actually much bigger than it was in history, okay? So when you say that it is holy, you have to understand there is the old Jerusalem, okay? Then there is the Ottoman Jerusalem with the wall. Okay. And then there is like a huge city around it, okay? This is a modern city. So what is holy? Is it just the original Temple Mount? Is it the Ottoman?
Good argument.
Now you're saying everything is holy, like, you know? So that's number one. Number two, you have to understand that this is what people in the West are saying. They're saying that if you have a Muslim majority culture, okay, like in Saudi Arabia, okay, or like in anywhere, okay, like in Pakistan, okay, you will have antagonism against gays. You will have antagonism against atheists, okay? It's because it's in the Quran, okay? It says that sometimes in the Hadith it says you can even throw the gay person off of a high, place.
No, I understand. It's not in the Hadith, actually. It's just a lie. They've lied about the Prophet on this. It's not true. I mean, the ones who are really concerned about religious texts, and they all know that it's not true.
Okay.
But, okay, I understand.
Let's say it's not true, but you've said yourself that if we turn the government over to religious Muslims, okay, who may be a majority, they may say, listen, we are intolerant of gay pride parade, and we're intolerant of gays, and we want to make sure that gays don't have any sex, because it's also in the Jewish books, to be honest. So in that point, the people in the West are saying, look, so here's more people who will be oppressed. Now you're talking about gays, atheists, and frankly, also Christians. If you see what happened in Bethlehem, okay, you say that the Palestinians are able to govern, other Palestinians. Some of the Palestinians are Christian. Why are they leaving Bethlehem? In '96, I was in Bethlehem. I was playing a concert. Okay, I saw activity. There's a lot of Christians, and I hear that today there's like 90% of them have left. So, to be honest with you, there's also a problem between the Muslims and the Christians, even though they're Palestinians. So this is also a problem. So I would much rather trust the Israelis to be running this because they are more tolerant than the Muslims. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Actually, frankly, you made a good point. But let me back to what you said, that because historically they were there first, because it was on the I don't know which era. But don't you think that saying so let's say, for example, your ancestors are from Africa. If you go back, trace back in history, your parent and grandparent.
Yes, if the biology is correct, that's
so. Okay, how many years or centuries will it be okay to not saying anymore that I am from that country? So they trace all the way back to Congo or Nigeria or somewhere in the Africa. So can you say now that I am original from that land? Historically, I was there first before. So for example, I was there before the Nigerian. No, I don't think so. So Jewish people, maybe they were first at the beginning. But now we are talking in the modern world, when states became countries. There weren't any countries back in the time. So countries, which country were first? It's obviously the Palestinians. So it's very recent. The argument of the Jewish people, we were there first because in 500 before Christ or 1,000 years before Christ, we did this and that. I don't think it's
well, one, I want to say, you brought up who was first. So I didn't bring it up, but I think it's actually a very important topic. Look, countries are a modern creation, okay? These kinds of states. And many times they did it wrong. It used to be empires, okay, like the Ottoman Empire. And then what the Sykes-Picot Agreement, right? And Daesh, they were talking about this, okay, because they did it wrong. Okay, they did it wrong. French people, France, there was the Paris Peace Conference, and France decided, hey, let's put Iraq and Syria as one thing. Iraq, Syria, they put Faisal in charge of that. Okay, he was a big Zionist, by the way. He supported the Jewish Zionist movement to come back to Israel, by the way. And then you have the English, who were given essentially a mandate, okay, create one state in the land of Palestine. Now, here's the backstory to that, okay. First of all, there was a big guy who helped in World War I, a Jewish guy. I forgot his name. I think he was a bomb maker or something. Anyway, so the English government said, how can we help you? How can we reward you? He said something about, can you give us the land of Israel to settle? And so Lord Balfour, of Balfour Declaration, he wrote to, I think, the Rothschilds or something, and he said that this will be a land for the home of the Jewish people without infringing on the rights of the people who are living there. Okay, that was the goal. And the leader gave the British people this goal. One thing I just want to say about that.
Continue.
Lawrence of Arabia, if you watch the movie, okay, he fought with the Hashemite. He had the Arabs, like the Hashemite king and everything, on his side. And he promised them that, hey, if you guys help us defeat the Ottoman Turks, England will give you a land too. Okay? So when we went back to England, they said, nope, actually, we're not going to do that. Okay? The English, they often would do these kinds of things in India and other things. So what I see is, this is geopolitics. And in the end of the day, the Hashemite king, Abdullah, he got the big land, Jordan, okay? And he was also an ally of the Zionists, of Golda Meir. They had secret meetings and everything. I can get into that. The point is, these countries are created by European powers, okay? Syria is created. Iraq was created. And Syria has Kurds. Syria has Alawites. Syria has Sunnis. Syria has refugees from the Nakba, the Palestinians, and Yarmouk, okay? They had all these groups. And, of course, now you send in the ISIS, you send in al-Nusra, and suddenly there's a civil war. This is what happens. These countries are very, they're set up with these factions that are all kind of against each other, okay? In Lebanon, this is an older country, you have the Maronite Christians, okay? You have the different Sunnis and Shiites, mostly Shiites. This is Hezbollah started to defend against the Sunnis, actually, the Palestinians, originally. My point is, these countries that you say now, this is actually creation that was very unstable. And that's why you see a lot of the fighting. And the same thing in Israel. The same thing, it was because the Arabs just didn't want to live with the Jews. They didn't want to build one government with the Jews. Samuel Herbert tried to build it. He failed. The mandate failed. And that's why we have what we have today. So, yeah, we tried. The modern attempt was made and it failed. That's why we have what we have today.
So, so basically, if you want to sum up your vision about the future, because now we are going to a future of technology, future of tolerance, a future, but it seems that the Palestinian-Israeli conflict, it never ends. So what is your thought on how, if you had some magical power, or I don't know, how do you see the resolution of the conflict? What party should do what?
I've been saying for years that I believe the most logical thing is for Jordan to give back the citizenship to the people since it revoked it in 1988. Let's say the West Bank, okay? First of all, this idea that we can make one state that encompasses the West Bank and Gaza with a high-speed rail between them, I think it's a crazy idea. And even BDS doesn't believe in this idea, okay? This two-state solution is, in my opinion, a fantasy of the international community. And the international community has not had a good track record, okay? It has not been good at even preventing genocides of the Hutus and the Tutsis or anything. Look at Libya. Libya has been completely decimated. It's a failed state, right? It's not too far from you. Libya.
Yeah, they're our neighbors. Yeah, it's a tragic story to them. Yeah.
Would you go live in Libya today?
No, impossible. Yeah.
So the international community, I don't trust them to create a paradise on earth, okay? Or even a state. Okay, so we need to trust the people on the ground. So to me, it's simple. What do the people want? The actual people, the Hamulas, the Palestinians, the Israeli public, okay? And Jordan, okay. What we need to do, in my opinion, is Jordan needs to annex all the Arab cities. I'm talking about Ramallah, Nablus, okay? And
so
go ahead.
You're kind of saying erasing the name of Palestinian, it will become Jordan. There will be no Palestine.
Right. To me, the idea that there has to be a state of which the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, is basically the sole representative of the Palestinian people. This is their claim, okay, that we are the sole representative. No one else can represent the Palestinian people. This has been the problem, not the solution. If they didn't exist, if the PLO didn't exist, the Palestinian people would have long found, first of all, the refugees would have been accepted as citizens of Lebanon. This is, in my opinion, crazy, that people who are born in Lebanon, their parents are born in Lebanon, they live their whole lives in Lebanon, they're not considered Lebanese. They're considered Palestinian refugees because one grandfather happened to come from the Nakba, okay? So my solution is, number one, make sure this is a regional solution. It is the responsibility of Lebanon, Syria. They have their own problems right now, but Egypt, Jordan, all of these countries to take refugees. Okay, this is like we're doing with Syrian refugees. We're taking them in. We're giving them citizenship. That's number one. Then we can talk about a right of return. But we cannot talk about a right of return if these other countries will not give them citizenship, because they will all go back to Israel. They'll have no choice. And that's not, that's not a politically viable solution. That's number one. Number two, West Bank should be divided. The cities that are Arab should be under Jordan, like they were. They already were. They had passports. And the settlements, okay, the Israeli cities, the Jewish cities, should be under Israel. And Jordan and Israel have a peace agreement. And so they can decide the water rights, the labor rights, everything else. That would be, don't you think, a symmetric and very fair way to give people an actual passport in an actual state and resolve the problem once and for all?
Okay, what about the Jerusalem, which is the centerpiece of the whole conflict? Jerusalem. If we follow your argument here, not two-state solution, the Jordan and the Israel country. Is that correct?
You're
so
right.
What about the Jerusalem? it will be Jordanian state or
Well, everybody
what?
wants Jerusalem. In 1972, King Hussein, okay, I think it was King Hussein at the time, he proposed that we'll make West Bank and Jordan into like a federation, okay? But part of his proposal was Jordan will take all of Jerusalem, okay? So, of course, it was rejected by Israel, and it was also rejected by the PLO for different reasons. Israel wouldn't give up Jerusalem, and PLO did not want to give up the idea that they are the sole representative of the Palestinian people. I talked to some people in 96, they want both, Jordan and Israel, okay, they want both.
Under which leadership? Under which government?
Under Palestinian, of course.
Under the Palestinian government, Jerusalem under the Jordan government, you mean?
No, the Jordan government, they want to remove the king, and they want, because Jordan is 80% Palestinian already, right?
No, if we follow what you have said about the solution, this solution that they will become Jordanian, the Jerusalem will be a part of Jordan. Is that what you are saying?
No. To be honest with you, I have a solution to every other issue. There are 5 issues typically. One is the return of refugees. For this one, I have an easy solution. Make every country give citizenship to those people who are born in that country. And then we can have a right of return, no problem. Okay?
Okay, this is fair. This is fair.
Yeah. The second one is, and by the way, there should be a right of return for Jews to Egypt. I don't think they're going to come back, but just to be fair, it should be there.
Okay. No. It's fair. It's fair. They should be there.
Yeah.
Everyone who was born in a country and feel that he is part of that country should be a citizen, should be gave a citizenship.
Number 2, people move on. Jews lived in Poland. Millions of Jews lived in Poland, okay? And when they tried to come back after World War II, many Polish people did not let them into their house. They just said, go or we'll kill you. This is after World War II. After. So I'm telling you, Jews did not cry for 80 years, let's go back to Poland, let's go back to Poland. They went, and they were given citizenship in another country, and now they're lawyers, they're doctors, they're doing well. This is what
they're productive in the community. Okay.
Yeah. So I have a solution for the refugees. Number 2, I have a solution for West Bank. The solution is take the cities that are Arab, give them Jordanian citizenship, everybody. Take the Jewish cities and give them Israeli citizenship. No more crying about Israeli expansion and settlements. Let Jordan and Israel build settlements in this region. No problem. Okay, this is number 2. Number 3, I have a solution for Gaza. You want to hear the solution for Gaza? It's different.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, solution for Gaza is you need the international community to deal with Hamas. Okay, not Israel. The international community should say to Hamas, here is our roadmap. Okay, including Arab countries and Russia, EU, UN, US. They all come, the quartet comes and says, listen, you guys have fucked things up for the people of Gaza. There's 2 million people living under you, okay? There's sanctions, there's a blockade, it's terrible. Our roadmap removes the blockade. Our roadmap completely makes Gaza into the Monaco of the Mediterranean, okay, over there, like Monaco. Nice, beautiful, okay, area with beaches, maybe gas, resources, everything. But 2 conditions. 1, get rid of all the weapons. No more guns, no more rockets. Anybody who's building a rocket goes to jail, gets arrested, okay? That's number 1. Number 2, and this is like, as long as there's no weapons and there's a UN observers and everything, there's no weapons, I think that's fine. The 2 things can happen. Either Hamas says, oh, this is great. Gaza people can live free finally. Okay, we give up all the weapons. No problem. We stop, and also we need the Front for Liberation of Palestine, PLF. We also need the Islamic Jihad. All of them need to lose the weapons. Or the second thing is they can say, no, international community, screw you, I don't care. I just want to fight because I'm a rebel. I need to have all of Palestine. So in this case, the international community will send a coalition force and disarm everybody. And it won't be Israel anymore. I don't want to see Israel come in there. I want the international community to lift the blockade and to get rid of all the weapons. So that's my solution for Gaza.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, another question about the settlement policy that Israel has been conducting those last year since its beginning. The settlement policy. I want to know just. Let me make it personal. How would you feel if, for example, you were living? This is your room. Let's say perhaps it was in Palestine, and then the Israel government comes and destroy your building and force you to leave because they want to build better or a more elaborated city, a more bigger city for their country. How do you feel?
First of all, I can only imagine because I'm not, I don't really live there, but I can tell you that similar things happen around the world. In my country, in the United States, okay, there are many black communities which are told, listen, we got to tear down your building and build a highway or to help, gentrify your, or just can't afford to live there anymore. So that's one. And we have a more integrated society than Arabs and Jews. Okay, that's number one, even in Israel. Number two, look at the pipelines that we have, the Keystone Pipeline that we run through the Native American lands, okay? A lot of people are protesting against that. If you research the Keystone Pipeline, doesn't matter. The United States government goes and builds it anyway. So this happens all around the world. Look at Bolsonaro right now. It's pretty terrible. I'm not condoning this. I'm just saying it happens all over the world. It's not something unique to Israel, okay? Like Bolsonaro, this is the worst thing ever. He got elected president. He's a very right-wing president in Brazil. He wants to destroy the rainforest. He's openly said that he's going to take the indigenous tribes of the rainforest, and he doesn't care if they're uncontacted tribes or whatever. He's just going to steamroll them. Doesn't matter. There's no more safe haven. Not an inch of the rainforest, he says, will be safe for them. But these groups are the ones protecting the rainforest from logging and everything else, and the rainforest produces 20% of the world's oxygen. So 20% of the world's oxygen. We're talking about, this is a very dangerous situation, much more dangerous than what is happening ecologically, much more dangerous than what's happening.
Much more dangerous. Yeah, I agree.
So to me, that's more important to focus on. The reason we focus on Israel, in my opinion, is because Jews are very famous. Islam and Christianity is based on Jewish religion. And every time we're talking about all three books, talk about this one land, okay?
Yeah, one land, yeah.
So this is why. So how do I feel? So I feel, honestly, I'll tell you how I feel. I think if I was smart and following history, I would say the PLO has been the worst thing that has happened to my people. I could have been a citizen of Jordan. I could have had right now rights and had a state in my back defending me. I could be a citizen of Israel, okay? I could have been a citizen of something else. And now I'm stateless. I have no one to protect me. So here comes Israel, builds a settlement. Well, how do I feel? I feel like I should get rid of the PLO as soon as I can and try to.
No. Okay, let me back up on this.
Yeah.
You said about the Native American, or for example, it happens in your country. The Bolsonaro example is similar to Israeli. I think if I was from the indigenous people, I would see myself as subjugated and oppressed, because Bolsonaro government is very horrible. But you in the USA, if they, for example, oblige you to move away from your house and they build a railroad or something, you will still be a citizen, an American citizen, and you will have your rights, and you are not going to be treated like a second-class citizen. In Palestine, the settlement, they just move away and just I would say go on with your life, start a new life. So I don't think the parallel or the example
First of all, most of the settlements are built in areas where it's just pretty empty, okay? Most settlements start by building houses in an empty area. If you look at the area of the West Bank, most of it is still open for development. It's like not much there. So it's not like they're taking the land, to be honest with you. But there are some exceptions. But I'm telling you that the same people, the Palestinians, the same people in Lebanon, Syria, and others are being kicked around. They live in refugee camps. Like my people, the Jewish people, lived in ghettos in Europe. I actually think it's a bit obscene for the other countries to say, listen, just because you are one grandfather is Palestinian, so you are a second-class citizen. You have no rights. You have no citizenship. You can't own property in Lebanon. You cannot hold many different positions. They're changing it now, I think, some of that. But for decades, no rights, no protections. This is what happens when you're stateless, whether you're Palestinian or whether, look at what happened to Jews after the Holocaust. Many of them were stateless also. It took a long time for countries to accept them. That's why they went to Israel. They had nothing else. They had no one else. So it's a common thing. It's a common thing, and we need to take in refugees. I agree. But it's not just Israel. Everyone needs to do it, not just the Israeli state, in my opinion.
So, okay, it's. I think we are running out of time. It was a pleasure to speak with you, Mr. Greg.
You as well. You as well. I hope, just want to say salam, and I hope there's peace everywhere.
Inshallah. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Greg. I have enjoyed it, actually. Thank you very much.
I've enjoyed it as well.
Thank you. Let's do it again, and bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.